product, best practices, and product overview. And I'm going to turn it over to Doug.
Hi everyone, thanks. I'll be honest with you, it just doesn't feel like a Wednesday morning. It kind of feels like a Tuesday night, kind of weird. But anyway, let's get going. What I thought we would start out is talk a little bit about why you're here. You are probably here because you own one of our products, whether it be our duplicate merge tool, iMerge, our Outlook integration with iMIS, iEmail. Probably no one here knows iMove since it's a US-only tool. Our importer and updater tool for activities, IMAP, our geolocation tool, our fundraising editor, Freeze, our online donation page, page filter for changing RISE pages, our newest documentation product, or most probably Meeting Closer, which I know should probably be called Event Closer, but that's neither here nor there. We've actually got about 175 people using Meeting Closer out there. We created it back in 2002, and that was version 1. And today we are in version 4.2.19, and basically we couldn't have done it without you. Most, if not all, the changes have come from feedback from our customers. There are people using it saying, hey, it'd be great if it did this. I'd love to see this. So everything you see in Meeting Closer, as well as our other products, they come from your enhancement requests. And we're going to talk about ways to submit those to us in a later slide. So we're going to cover the history of Meeting Closer with our quick agenda here. This is going to cover what a day in the life of a Meeting Closer user is going to deal with. This started when I was at a client a couple months ago. They had several of our products, and I found out that they didn't realize we had done a lot of updates over the years and that the products did a lot more than what they were aware of. So Zach and I thought it would be a great idea to take this on the road, and we're going to be doing a webinar for each and every one of our products. We've done an iMerge one already and an iEmail, and this is our Meeting Closer. So these will continue. You'll be getting other invites to our other ones. However, the best way to show the product is to give you business use cases, and we're going to walk you through what you might deal with on a daily basis with Meeting Closer. Then we're going to touch on some things that you may not have known about Meeting Closer, some tips and tricks, if you will, some stuff you didn't know. That's going to include really important stuff that you need to remember. When we're all said and done with that, you're probably going to want to know how to get the latest release. That's important too. And then we're going to show you how to get help if you get stuck, which I think is important. And finally, a test to see if you were paying attention. And then we'll end up with some questions and answers. So if you stay on to the very end, we'll have some questions and answers.
And if you guys do have any questions during the presentation, feel free to type them, and we'll either address them at that point in time, or we'll hold the questions to the end and answer any questions that you guys do type in.
So feel free to type away. And we are recording this, so if you have any questions, make them good for the audience, if you will. Okay, so the why and how of Meeting Closer, if you will. Basically, our customers needed a way to close their events and or their expos without losing data. They also needed a way to clean up those open events. We always told people, don't close your open events. You'll lose all the detail. But they wanted to have that screen nice and clean, and there was no way to do that. But then when they did close something, they needed a way to reopen the event. If they forgot to clone something, they were kind of doomed. So we thought, well, we need a way to do that. And then finally, we thought it would be a good idea if they could create, say, CPE records. We call them CEU over here in the States a lot of times, or CMEs. If they could create those on the fly so they didn't have to wait until all the test results came in, they want to go ahead and create the records that they already know about, and they want to create them now. And this allows them to do it on the fly. Okay, so how do we do it? Well, we basically mimic the iMIS code that iMIS does to create these functions, including speaker activities, if you will. We gave you the option to move the data out of the meet master table that cleans it up out of iMIS into a backup table. So one of the important things with meeting closer is nothing is ever deleted. That's important. We then gave you a union view that includes both the current iMIS data and the backed up iMIS data so that you can do custom reporting off of it as well. And then once again, we added this cool little function where you could create your CPEs with the date of the function. It's optional. You can actually close the event and actually have it create the CPE activity with the date you're closing the event, or you have the option to say, I'd like the date to be the date that they took the test, if you will. How about a day in the life? So let's talk through a real business use case. We're going to talk about some things that might happen at your organization. We had the NIOG San Antonio conference here. It's over. We need to generate some activities. We'd like to know who went to the event. And we'd kind of like to have a function activity for certain functions. Those might include the full day training, the SSRS training, and those people that went on the tour. And by the way, if you went to the SSRS training, we'd like to create CEUs or CPEs for anybody that went to the full day training. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to jump on into Meeting Closer. So if you've installed Meeting Closer, which I hope you are, it installs onto a given user's workstation. You can install it on everyone's workstation. We don't really care because it's licensed to your iMIS and there's no extra cost to install on multiple workstations. I go to Meeting Closer. There's the user guide that no one ever looks at, but that's okay. And then here's the actual product. I'm going to log in. And now that I'm logged in, actually, you know what? I'm going to take a step back because before I even show you that, let's look at the event I'm going to close. Here's our NIOG San Antonio event. And if we look at our main registration, we notice that we're not going to be creating detail activities for that. And then if we look at our crystal training that we were doing, we are going to create detail activities for that. And finally, this is our SSRS training, create detail. Sorry, and finally our tour down here. So this is a given event. We've got 5 people signed up for the iMIS, for the SSRS training. And then one of the interesting things is let's look at what we know about the SSRS training. And we can see right now that there are 2 credits given for a final exam. And we can see that Marcy Farmhaven has taken the test as well as Terry Boone, but we haven't heard from 3 other people. So this is an event. I'd like to close it. I'd like to get the CEUs out there. I think that's important. So let's go ahead and now close it. So back to Meeting Closer. In Meeting Closer, I can see right now all of my events. I can say, well, I'd really like to just see my active ones only. This is going to hide any closed events that are still visible in iMIS. I can also go down here and search for events. So if you have a whole bunch of events down here, or in iMIS and you're ready to start closing some events, you can go in and search. You can search by a meeting code, you can search by a title, you can even search by a date range. Notice you can also switch it over to expos. That's very powerful as well. So you can do all of these fun things and it's going to go out there and show everything. Really important to talk about this, you can close multiple events at the same time. So I could go and highlight multiple events and hit close. But before I do that, I actually want to go down to this conference because this is the one I really want to close, that San Antonio conference that we just went over. I'm going to generate meeting activity, so that's a meeting activity in iMIS. I'd like to generate function activities. If I have the speaker module, I can generate that as well. Do I want to hide it from iMIS? Actually, I don't want to hide it from iMIS right now. I'm going to leave it visible in iMIS because I've got additional CEU or CPE credits I need to put in there. I do want to generate those. And I'd like to use the meeting or the function end date for them. So if the function didn't have a date, it'll use the meeting end date. And if neither of those exist, it'll use today's date. Well, it's kind of silly to go ahead and close an event and create a meeting activity for the meeting, and then a function activity for the main function. So I'm going to jump over and say, I don't want activities for all my functions. I can go in here and manually choose which functions I want, or I can say, read the data from iMIS. So by clicking that button, it goes back out to iMIS and notices that I really don't want to create an activity for main registration. but I do want to create one for these other records. That looks good. Everything looks good. Let's just go ahead and close/hide the meeting. We click OK. It is done. Once again, it will work very fast even if you have multiple events. If we jump back into iMIS and I refresh this page, you can see actually I've got a status of C now. The event shows is closed. But it's still out here. I didn't hide it from iMIS. It's available. If I jump over to Marcy Farmhaven, who was at that event, and I look at her activities, I can see there's the tour activity, there's the CEU for the SSRS training, there's the meeting activity for NIOG, here's the SSRS training for the function. So it's actually created 4 of these. Life's good. Everything's wonderful, right? So that's a quick way to close it and still leave it showing in iMIS. But all of a sudden, I just get 2 more tests in place. I've got 2 more people that have gone and taken the test, or they've submitted their test results, and I need to update the CEUs. So let's go ahead and open the meeting again. When I say open, I'm going to open in iMIS. I didn't hide it, so it's right there. I'm just going to double-click on it. I'm going to update the attendance. I'm going to close the event again. All right, so let's go and do that. I'm back in iMIS. I'm going to go to the event. And this, what I'm showing you, is with CEUs. This could also occur with functions. If an individual had gone to an additional function, or I needed to add a new registrant to the event, of course I'd have to change the status to active, but I could add additional, I could change registrations, I could add additional registrations. Meeting Closer is not going to delete any activity it's already created, but it will add any missing activity that is now been changed. So if I go in here and I sign someone else up for the Crystal training and then I reclose the event, it'll notice the Crystal training function activity was not created, and it'll go and do that. So you can actually continue to close an event. In this case, I found out that there's 2 additional people that I need to update the attendance for. Ellen went to SSRS and passed the test, as well as John Colby did. So I've gone and updated this. We're all done here. We're going to go back here. Let's go and close the meeting again. So I've got Meeting Closer still running here. I'm just going to go jump right over here and close the meeting. But you know what? I'm sort of done with it now. I don't want to see it in iMIS anymore. So right now, you can see it's showing up in my window. I'm going to say Move to Hidden Meetings. So close/hide meeting. If you want to do that, yes. It's done. If we refresh our screen in iMIS, you'll see the NIOG SA13 is gone now. So really kind of powerful, good way to clean up your event window. However, what happens is a year goes by and someone says, hey, we're having our 14th annual event and the 13th is gone and I need to clone it. So we're going to show you Meeting Closer how to open it for cloning. We call it Show for Cloning. Then you can clone it and reclose. So all you would do in Meeting Closer is down here, it's showing. You just say Show for Cloning. We go back to iMIS, define an event. There it is. It's visible. I can now clone that event down here. Just click Clone, and I'm done. After I've cloned it, I go right back in here. I find the event, and I say, get rid of that. And it's hidden from iMIS now. So you can turn that on or off. Very powerful. Totally up to you. There's no, oops, you did that and you can't undo it. Remember, nothing is ever deleted with Meeting Closer. Let's talk about what's been changing in Meeting Closer, maybe since the version you have. We've got a new user interface. If you've seen it, it's been cleaned up a little bit. Improved activity handling, that's what I talked about, the ability to create, to edit a registration and add additional functions, or add a registration, or add CPEs. I can go ahead and do that and reclose the meeting. Before, Meeting Closer would only create the activities once. Now it'll create them over and over again. Remember, it will not delete an existing one, and it will not duplicate an existing one. You saw that filter I was in there. I can actually go, the filter to go and say which functions do I want activities created from. That can read directly from iMIS now. So if your event planner is setting that up and choosing that checkbox in iMIS, Meeting Closer will see it. Under that filtering button, where I could search on a meeting type or whatever, I can actually search for a meeting type as well as lock it down to Expo Management. And then when you install Meeting Closer, it used to require something called your SA password. SA is a system administrator. It's the all-powerful login to your SQL server. And a lot of people were not given access to that. Maybe they're on a hosted environment, and they're given what's called an SA equivalent. And now Meeting Closer will support that. So we'd run into some challenges where security would prevent Meeting Closer from being installed. So we've opened that up a little bit now too, so it's easier. Let's talk about some things that we'd like you to take away from here, stuff to remember, if you will. Please never ever reuse a meeting or event code. If you do not hide the meeting in iMIS in Meeting Closer, so if you are in Meeting Closer and you do not move it to hidden meetings, this is not going to be a problem. But if I move this NIOG SA13 to hidden meetings, iMIS no longer sees it. So it would let me go and create a new NIOG SA13. That's a bad idea, okay? Because what's going to happen is Meeting Closer says now you've got the same event code twice. If you do that, it's really important that you catch it before you start registering people for the new event. You can contact us and we'll send you a script to help clean it up. It looks like this if you do that. Here's a chapter December, terrible naming convention for a meeting there, chapter December, and it's going to say it's already out there. Call us. It's really important if you have not put any registrants in, it's very easy to clean up. If you start adding some registrants, it gets a little trickier, but we have some ways to help you out there. If you use the automated or the mass purge in iMIS from the utilities menu, there is an additional purge script you're going to want to use. It's just a minor change to the one that's out there. It's actually covered in the manual. And the reason this is put in there is if you hide the event from iMIS, iMIS won't know that you can delete the individuals that you have marked for deletion. So if Zach goes to a meeting and then Zach is no longer, I want Zach purged, so I delete him, but he went to one of my meetings that I've hidden, iMIS won't know to purge him. So our little change here will allow you to purge Zach. Sorry, Zach. But it's one of those things you want to be real careful of, because if you do decide to reopen the meeting or show for cloning, Zach's no longer going to show there. So that's important to understand, and that's covered in the manual, if you will. If you do hide the meeting or event, it's going to disable the reporting, the built-in reporting that iMIS can do on that. As I mentioned in the beginning, we actually give you a view that you can use to report off that. It's a custom view, and the manual shows you how to report, to create a custom report that will include hidden events as well as non-hidden events in iMIS. There's this really cool thing called Activity Flowdown in iMIS, and you can set it up. And what Activity Flowdown says is when you make that activity in iMIS, when you close an event, take some data, some data from the orders table or the meet master table and add it to the activity. This was real important in the early days because you were going to lose that order data. The problem is that there's a base core iMIS setup file way back out there somewhere that a lot of you have had your iMIS set up from. So your solution provider started with something that ASI provided, and unfortunately it had some bad setup data in there. You won't notice this with iMIS because iMIS just ignores the bad setup data. But Meeting Closer is going to notify you. It's going to say, whoa, 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 you got a problem. And let me give you some examples. Here's one where someone has gone and added to the event system preferences orders.order number to be stored in the date field of the activity. Well, that is a numeric, and that's a date. It's not going to work. When you try and close that event in Meeting Closer or any event, it's going to pop up and say, hey, it's not a valid date time field. You need to fix that before you can close an event. Another example is this. Here I've gone and said, I want to put the major key in this character 1 field. And it says, I'm sorry, you can't do that. You can take data from Meat Master, order meat, and/or orders. Those are the only ones that are allowed to be in here. So if you get one of these, it's covered in the manual. If not, we're going to tell you how to get support if you get stuck. First thing that I encourage you all to do is get on the latest version of Meeting Closer. You will see that version when you go to Start Meeting Closer. It'll show right here in the upper top. And the latest one, as I mentioned, is 4.2.19. If you've already logged in and you can't see it, if you go to Help About, you'll see it there as well. So you should be on the latest meeting. That's important. I would like to say that it's been all feature enhancements that we've been adding, but fortunately or unfortunately, we've also fixed some bugs along the way. So get on the latest version if you're not on it. In order to do that, go to our website. Go to csiinc.com, and up top, just click on Login. You probably forgot your login, and that's okay. If you email sales@csiinc.com, they'll tell you to log into our website. Your login was sent with your product key, so if you search your email for Meeting Closer, you'll see that. Zach and Katie love responding to these things, so just tell them Doug sent you. Once you are finally logged in, go ahead and scroll down here to Current Product Releases, and you're going to see every product you own. So if you don't see a product you thought you owned here, it means that your software maintenance has lapsed. And in that case, once again, just go ahead and email Zach at sales@csiinc.com, and he's happy to take your credit card to renew that maintenance. Anyway, you should see Meeting Closer in that list. It will be on the very bottom. Meeting Closer 4.2.19, it shows you the version. Just a heads up, anytime we publish a new version, it ends up on Facebook as well as Twitter. So you can either like our page on Facebook, Computer System Innovations, or you can follow us on Twitter, which is CSI Inc. And either one, you'll get notification whenever we release a new version of one of our products. Once you download that, you're going to want to save it somewhere on your computer. When you do that, it's important to find a place that you'll remember it. Here's the Doug Morris tip of the day. I have a directory called Erase Me, and I have it on my C drive, and it just means I can delete whatever's there. So I have a C Erase Me, and in a case like Meeting Closer where I just need to install it and be done, I'm going to go ahead and extract that to my Erase Me directory, and then I'm going to install from there. I know that that Erase Me directory can be erased anytime I want, whenever I need space on my computer. So it's a real powerful way or a place to store just stuff that you don't need for a long time. After you do that, the most important thing here now is to right mouse click on the setup and run as administrator. That's important. You may not have full privileges on your machine, or maybe your coworker who you're installing it for does not have full privileges. So that's pretty important to do. Just right mouse click, run as administrator. That'll make sure that it installs with all the privileges. It's user installable. Anybody can install it. However, if you haven't installed a version in a while, or it's your first time installing at your organization, you are going to need that SA password or the equivalent of an SA. If that doesn't make sense, what I'm saying, you're going to need to talk to your solution provider or your IT people to get that information. So don't go trying this on a Saturday at 9 p.m. at night, because you may not be able to get in there. So run here. If you don't know what I'm talking about, talk to your IT people. And then the first time you run it at your organization, it's going to ask for the license key. That's also in the email that had your download username and password. If you forgot it or lost it, it's no big deal. Go ahead and just email us, and we'll get you your license key sent over. If you get stuck, as I said, there is this manual out there. It's a pretty cool thing. It's got a lot of good stuff in there. We have a person whose full-time job is QA and updating our manual. Brooke would be crushed if she knew that you were not reading her manual. So if you love Brooke and you want to show her your support for her, please read the manual. However, if that does not answer your question, you are welcome to email support. Whoops, got a screenshot in there. Messed that up. That's okay. If you email support, include as much information as you can about the problem. Please don't email us and say, hey, Meeting Closer doesn't work. That doesn't give them a lot to go on. So if you can give us a screenshot as well as what you were doing when the error occurred. And this is a real important thing. Make sure runtime errors is turned on. Under Meeting Closer, you can go to Report Runtime Errors. No sensitive data is being sent over. It's just telling us what statement was being run when the error occurred. So if you go and say, hey, I was using Meeting Closer, it gave me an error. This was at 3:30 p.m. Melbourne time. We can actually go in, we'll have a log of the error, and we can look at it, and it gives the developers an insight into exactly what might have gone wrong. So real important to turn that on. It's not on by default, but if you're getting an error, turn that on. Go ahead then, email support, tell us you have the report runtime errors on, and that will help us tremendously. If you love Meeting Closer, but you want, oh, sorry, what happened there? Doubled it up. Holy cow. There's the important thing. Sorry, this is the second time we're doing this. We modified the PowerPoint after the morning session, and of course we didn't go through it. Right now we're running about a 24-hour turnaround. It can go as high as 2 days. So please don't email us at 8 in the morning and then follow up with a direct email to me and say, hey, I haven't heard from anybody and it's been almost 30 minutes. So it's about a day to turn it around. Silly questions. You got a great idea for an enhancement. How do I tell you about it? Easy. Just email that same support email address. Go ahead and say, I wish Meeting Closer did this. That's going to go on the queue for the product manager. They are reviewed about once a month. If it makes sense, if other people have asked for it, if it doesn't take 2 years to implement, we'll probably add it. You know, we like to make the products better. If it's cool and it's going to apply to other organizations, we're happy to add it. And that's how our products get better. So we welcome your ideas for enhancements. No promises on them all being added. Are we having more events? As I said, yeah, we're going to keep having these. And you can go to csiinc.com/webinars, and you will see about our upcoming events. Hey, Doug, you said you did one for iMerge and iEmail. Can I see those? Yep, same location. Just go to webinars. It's also on the bottom of our homepage. If you just go to csiinc.com, you'll see that as well. So you want to show the coworkers the power? We have two options here. You can go to csiinc.com Meeting Closer, where Zach has done an online demo. It's more of a sales sort of thing. Or you could go to our product videos, where you're also going to see this webinar. We like this webinar because it kind of shows them how the product is made to be used. It's less salesy. So this is really day in the life. This should show you all the features it has. So this is actually a better way to show it. I'm going to open this up to any questions that anybody might have. You can go ahead and type them up, and we will we'll answer them if there are any. We had a couple this morning. One of the things that someone asked, they said, hey, what if I change the CEU hours that were put in? Once again, it's not going to recreate any CEU hours. It's not going to delete. It's not going to erase. So if you close an event and an activity was written, that activity will never be touched again. So if you need it deleted, you have to manually delete it. If you need it rewritten, you have to manually delete it and reclose the event. So that was powerful. And then we did have a request to have the product version shown. I'm sorry, the iMIS database name shown. That is coming in a future release. We have a brand new login screen that's coming out. We're really excited about it. And it's going to work really good if you jump between your test database and your live and other things like that. So I don't see any questions. I did get a compliment from a certain someone who we love, who shall remain nameless, but thank you, Melissa. All right, I don't see any other questions. You're welcome to email sales if you have a quick question regarding the demo, or if you have a question regarding the product, feel free to email support@csiinc.com. Thanks, you guys, for spending Wednesday morning with us. We really appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon.